How's it going, YouTube? Oxy here, and welcome back. So today I'm gonna be talking about the unbearable weight of massive talent. My autobiography. No, seriously, I'm talking about the recent action comedy starring Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian himself. The reason most of you even know who he is. But yeah, I went to see this movie with the missus, and I was, admittedly, it was Nicolas Cage sold me. I've always been a fan of his. He's a very dedicated method actor, right? Like he gives it his all, and that's one thing I've always appreciated about him. And genuinely, jokes aside, I do feel that he can be underrated. People don't give him the credit he deserves. Like, I guess similar to like a Jim Carrey or people like that. Like in Carrey's case, it was like being a comedic actor. People don't give you your credit. Yeah, I feel like Nick Cage, like, he had his heyday, obviously, like, in the 90s, right? And then, of course, he did have, like, in the early 2000s, he had his stuff, right? He had, like, National Treasure, like, 1 and 2. I'm pretty sure a lot of the younger audience, you guys are more familiar with him through that. Or Ghost Rider. I mean, for what it was, he did a good job, I would say, in the first one. And, yeah, like, I think he's been underrated, and obviously he hasn't been in like the spotlight as of recent. Yeah, of course he's always been acting, doing his thing, but here he's back, right? He's back as a leading guy, if you will, a right? It's like a buddy movie, and yeah, like basic plot is it's the idea is I like it because it's one of those like fourth wall breaking, like take a look inside where in the movie Nicolas Cage is playing himself, as like a failing actor, right? Like isn't hasn't gotten any big roles, and like his home life is falling apart, and essentially he agrees. His agent, played by Neil Patrick Harris, gets him to agree to like a birthday party, like celebration. Like they're fans of, the actor of Nick Cage, and they want him to come for like $1 million, and he's like, "Hey, I'll do it." And then of course it turns into this whole thing about it's actually like he's going to like a cartel kingpin, right? And like they kidnapped the president's daughter and this sort of thing, and you get it. It plays on like how he develops his friendship with Pedro Pascal's character Javi, and how they develop a friendship. And like I won't spoil that's why I'm just gonna leave it at that, right? Because there are reveals later on. But yeah, it's just Nick, like, essentially, like, you get it, within the movie, in real life, he's like having to be like an action star and that sort of thing. And then throughout the movie, we get glimpses of like his inner thoughts by Nikki, which is like a young version of himself, which is obviously done through like deep fake or de-aging, and it's not bad. I mean, again, with a lot of that stuff, it's not very good either, but genuinely, like, it looks like Nick Cage and it gets it across. Like, it looks good. It definitely does, and it's funny. That's definitely where you get your most Nicolas Cage moments, where he's yelling at himself. He's like, there's one scene where he's, the Nikki, right, the younger one, is telling him, like, "You're a rock star, you're Nicholas." Like, Nickel, like, he yells it. He's like, "Cage!" And then, towards the end, like, it gets repeated. Like, it's a fun movie. I like it. I think it's definitely, I like it. I think Nick was a good pick for this because it's up his wheelhouse, If you've seen any of his previous films, like Face Off, for example, it's a crazy concept, right? Where, like, him and I believe John Travolta, and don't quote, it's been a while, where they like switch faces, right? And then they had to do the whole like they're acting like with the, so like their character is acting as the other character playing them. You get it? Because it's like, oh, I look like you now, and it's like it's a very cool dynamic. That's one thing I've loved about him, is that he's always very, he takes on these like complicated roles, right? And yeah, I just feel like he doesn't get the credit he deserves. I went into this movie not expecting much, right? It's just like, oh, it'll be a, decent little film, but it was genuinely pretty good. I was laughing, I enjoyed it through and through. It's fun, like, and that's one thing I love. And in all honesty, like, hey Nick, I hope this definitely, if this film was like one of those peek behind the curtain, and like, you're feeling like, I don't know, like you're feeling like stuck, I guess, artistically, or like, oh, you might hang it up, right? Like acting, because in the film he talks about that, right? About like, oh, I'm retiring and that sort of thing. It's like, I don't know. I give it a shot, and then hey, maybe Disney, Mickey Mouse will come calling, ask you to play Ghost Rider, right? Like maybe they could do the whole, you're like the Phantom Rider, like the original, That'd be a cool callback. Or it'd be cool to see you in like a multiverse. Hey, maybe you're in Doctor Strange. Comes out in like what, about less than 2 weeks, But yeah, I love the film. I recommend it. Rating it 1 through 10 is hard. Admittedly, it is kind of like, huh. I would say the film is a solid 8 out of 10. It's really good. I mean, it's nothing new in the sense, right? It's like a thriller, it has action, it has comedy, right? Him and Pedro Pascal work well together. I think they're a pretty great duo. Genuinely, it's like you got this whole bromance developing, and it's funny. It's genuinely like it works. And then Nick's family gets involved. It's good. Now, I don't know if that's his real family, like that's his real daughter and wife. I wouldn't be surprised knowing him. It's like, yeah, it probably is, which is cool. It's cool to see him touch on that. They're like, oh, like maybe my acting career's affected my family life. I mean, I hope it isn't, like none of that is like true, but usually with that sort of thing, there is some bit of reality to it. But all in all, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It's a great film. I recommend it. It's a good time. And, just shy of 2 hours. It's worth the ticket. But with that, guys, that's all. Just my thoughts on The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Go see it. I liked it. It's fun. And I think, Hollywood, Nick Cage, give him a chance. He's a great actor, and I love to see him. Love to see him in more roles. But with that, I make new videos every Tuesdays and Saturdays. And if you like this type of content, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good jazz. And as always, everybody, I've been your host, Oxy. Take care.